Okay. Have you heard of the word persevere? Persevere. Oh, it's a word now. Like sometimes when you're in a game and it's hard, like Monopoly or a chess game. And let's say, or maybe you've even lost the game, and how hard it is to keep on playing the game if you've lost and to play again. I mean, it takes perseverance to win. Perseverance means to just keep on keeping on doing something even when it gets hard. In fact, it's just like this. Living as a follower of Christ and doing what's right can take a lot of perseverance. Can I get an amen? I mean, listen to what God says about someone who perseveres. Okay, this is cool. It comes in James 1:12. The word says, "Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him." Well, you know as well as I do that it is important to not give up when things get hard, whether it's in your marriage, or whether it's with your kids, or whether it's with your job, or whether it's with your parents. But the fact is, there are situations that can be hard to keep on doing what's right and obeying God. Each of us have had times when we need God's help to just keep on doing what's right. And God understands how we feel, and God also promises to help us. And He promises that the people who don't give up will receive what's called the crown of life. Well, just remember to thank God for His promises of help when we find it difficult to keep on doing what's right.
When I realized this was Halloween week, it hit me that 2 or 3 years ago, Jock had preached a sermon about Halloween, some of its origins and very powerful information that everybody needs to know. And I called him and I said, "Jock, would you consider, or would it be possible for you to preach that sermon again?" There's some sermons that really need to be preached often just to keep it in our minds. We learn by repetition. Here a little, there a little, line upon line, precept upon precept. That's how we learn. He said, "Well, I preached it 2 or 3 years ago." I said, "Yes, but aren't you glad that whoever wrote Amazing Grace didn't sing it just one time?" He said, "I'll have to update it, redo it." I said, if you would be comfortable with it, I wish you would do it." So that's how he come up with this sermon that I've asked him to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Jock Evans.
It's good to see you. Good to see you. And I'm going to apologize in advance for kicking some of your sacred cows this morning. No, I'm not going to apologize. Not going to apologize. Dad asked me to redo a message, and it's a good one. It's a timely one. See, in America today, there's a celebration of the spiritual underworld lifestyle called Halloween. And if that's your sacred cow, just enjoy the service. It isn't what it was when we adults were children. It's not what it was long before that. Because there's a spiritual reality that really comes to the surface this time of the year. We see it everywhere we go. How I got into this sermon in the first place was that the evil of Halloween began to hit me in the face, wave after wave after wave. It just wouldn't go away. I was reading an article in a local magazine talking about local haunted places. I'm going to list a few of them for you because you probably didn't know These are considered haunted. The Kendrick House in Carthage, where both Confederate and Union soldiers were operated on and lost their lives, many of them. The Carthage Opera House on the square. Here's one I just found out this time going around with this. The Prosperity School Bed and Breakfast. You ever been driven by that building? I tried to buy it a few years ago. In Galena, the Bordello, supposedly haunted. That was a house of ill repute that was established back in the mining days to entertain the miners. I've been by there. Beautiful building. Dale, we talked about this. Beautiful place. Then there's Peace Church Cemetery. Now, this is all local stuff. All local stuff. At Peace Church Cemetery, supposedly there is a male entity that people have seen that haunts the cemetery. And people have been known to leave the cemetery with notable scratches on their arms. This is real stuff. Then we've also got the spook light. That's pretty harmless, but still it exists. Here's another one. The Olivia Apartments on 4th and Pearl, I think it is. Supposedly haunted. That place was built and was called the Jewel of the West. That's where the elite lived. It's abandoned now, but that's where the elite lived. That's where the extremely wealthy resided, waiting for their mansions to be built in town. Al Capone's aunt maintained an apartment on the 3rd floor of the Olivia Apartments. Beautiful place, but abandoned and supposedly haunted now. I learned something else. Speaking of Al Capone, the mobsters, that kind of thing, there is a abandoned resort just south of Joplin. It's a swimming pool, had a huge cabin there, and that's where the mafia from Kansas City, the mob, movie stars during Prohibition would come to escape their area, and so they could party and do their thing without anybody seeing. And it's there because I went and saw it. It's up on a hill in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, near Shoal Creek. I'm not going to tell you where it is because I don't want you trespassing on somebody's property like I did. But it's there, it's real, supposedly haunted. You know, you can schedule a vacation excursion to visit these various haunted places. Why? Because fear and the supernatural sells. It's as simple as that. A recent survey among teens showed that more of them knew who Freddy Krueger is than Abraham Lincoln. See, what a couple of decades ago was a fun-filled night of collecting goodies has changed. Today, there's more personal property destroyed on Halloween than any other day. Costly vandalism reaches a peak. Razor blades and needles are buried in treats. Hallucinogenics put in candy. It's not simply the scary night it used to be. It's now a frightening night. It's not just fun and games, exchanging candy. Where did it come from? Where did it originate? The word Halloween comes from events called All Hallows Eve. It's the evening before All Saints' Day. See, in certain parts of the country, such as my birth state, my mother's birth state, Louisiana, All Saints' Day is a special occasion when deceased loved ones are remembered, then honored. It's custom to put flowers on graves on this day, and it's second only to Mother's Day in flower sales. You think it's a coincidence that Louisiana's football team is called the Saints? Even before the time of Christ, the ancient Druids had a holiday honoring the Lord of their dead, Samhain. It was the last day of October, the Celtic New Year. Druids believed that on this night, Samhain called forth the souls of all who had died during the last 12 months, and they had since their death been inhabiting the bodies of animals. These spirits returned to their former homes, where the occupants were to treat them by providing food and entertainment for them. If the food and entertainment weren't acceptable, these spirits would play tricks on the residents. From this emerged the famous trick or treat. Okay, here's another one. Irish legend says a man named Stingy Jack, remember that? Stingy Jack tricked the devil into not bothering him for 1 year, and should Jack die, the devil couldn't claim his soul. After the year was up, Jack tricked the devil again into not bothering him for another 10 years. And if he died, the devil couldn't claim his soul. But soon after that, Jack indeed died. And as the legend goes, God wouldn't allow such an unsavory figure into heaven. And angry that he had been tricked by Jack, the devil kept his word and would not claim Jack's soul, would not allow him into hell. He sent Jack off into the dark night with only a burning coal to light his way. Jack put the coal into a carved-out turnip and has been roaming the earth ever since. This is Irish legend. The Irish referred to the ghostly figure that roamed the area as Jack of the Lantern. Now we know it as Jack-o'-lantern. Let's take a break from all that. There's some history into Halloween. We think it's all fun and games. But there's a spiritual reality to the origins of Halloween. Everything means something. Well, let's take a little break. I'm going to tell you a fun story. Mackie doesn't like it when I use him in my sermons, but this is a fun one, so I'm going to tell it anyway. When Mackie was 4, he was in preschool, and we went to the pumpkin patch. The whole school went to the pumpkin patch in Carl Junction. Got pumpkins, had fun, rode on the wagon. And coming back from Carl Junction, I needed to get gas, and he needed to go to the bathroom. And he's only 4, remember. Well, so we stopped at Harp's, the grocery store. And if you've ever been in Harp's, you know that the bathrooms are kind of in the front, over on the far right side if you're facing the exit. So we went to the restroom, and I came out first. And right there is, outside the restroom, is where they keep their seasonal items. Now, today's sermon is called Resist the Devil. They keep their seasonal items right outside the bathroom. Well, it was Halloween time, and they had some scary masks. So before Mackie came out, I put one of those scary masks on, and I waited around the corner of the aisle. And he comes clipping around that aisle, coming out of the bathroom, and I'm sitting like this around that aisle, and he comes walking by, and I just went, "Rrr." And he looked at me like this and went, wham! He hit me right on my cheekbone. He didn't know it was me. He thought it was a monster. And I ducked around the corner to take that mask off real quick so he wouldn't know it was me that scared him. And he started yelling, "Daddy, Daddy, I hit it, I hit it, Daddy." And I come back around the corner. He said, "Dad, I hit it. Where'd it go?" See, he knew it was injured. He wanted me to come finish it off. It's a good strategy. But you know, the reason I told that story, the sermon title is Resist the Devil. Even my 4-year-old son, when confronted by evil, didn't run. He confronted the evil. He attacked back. He resisted the devil. The word says resist the devil and he'll flee. I'm proud of my son for that. That's a proud moment for me. Halloween is one of the highest and holiest days of the occult year. Even though witchcraft and Satanism are separate, they both celebrate the same day. Now listen, I'm giving you some hard, cold facts here. Certain hardcore Satanists make 33 living sacrifices on this night, one for each year of Christ's life on earth. One of these sacrifices is supposed to be human. Not all of the Satanists follow that, but it does exist. Anton LaVey is the author of the Satanic Bible and founder of the Church of Satan, said this: he was glad that Christian parents let their children worship the devil at least one night of the year. Now that's the author of the Satanic Bible, the founder of the Church of Satan. So it's not just a night, it's the whole month. It's the whole month of October. We have to do this. It only comes around once a year, but there's something else that's embraced by many every day of the year, and that's occult activity. The interest in occult activity and exploration and experimentation with occult activity increases dramatically during the Halloween season. Let me give you some facts, some figures. In one recent survey of 1,700 teenagers, it was found this: 25% of them, 1 in 4, high schoolers admitting to using Ouija boards. One of the waves that hit me whenever I started preparing this sermon, I was in a local store not far from our house. It's Halloween season. These came wave after wave after wave. That's the reason I prepared this sermon. On the end cap of one of the decoration aisles in this store was a whole rack of nothing but Ouija boards. And they're marketing that to our kids as a game. Church, it's not a game. It's not a game. In fact, I was talking to a man after I preached this sermon a couple of years ago. I was talking to a man that I respect very much who admitted to me that as a teenager, he and some other friends had experimented with the Ouija board. You know what he told me? I never have, but you know what he told me? He said it was kind of cool when it was just answering yes or no. But when it started spelling out complete sentences, he said, I was out. I'm done. Given instructions from beyond the grave, I'm done. It's not a game. 19%, 1 in 5, had used astrology or their horoscope trying to learn about their future. And 1 in 10 admitted to having their palms read. In Hollywood, oh goodness, always on the lookout for ways to push the envelope, introducing new shows with a renewed passion for promoting the occult. Talk show host Montel William had fortune teller Sylvia Brown as a regular guest. There are numerous shows dealing with channeling and speaking to the dead. A few years back, there was a show called Crossing Over where the host claimed he could speak to the dead. I'm going somewhere with this. Mediums and those who claim to speak to ghosts have become popular with shows like Medium and Ghost Whisperer. Other shows make the supernatural and hauntings look acceptable and exciting. Here's a lineup from a single day on the Travel Channel, and I like the Travel Channel. I like to look at the destinations. I like the Food Network as well. But this is the lineup from one day on the Travel Channel. Tennessee Wraith Chasers, Haunted, Live, Ghost Adventures, Kindred Spirits. And here's the description of the particular episode of Kindred Spirits that I looked at. As you got it right off the guide, I just hit info on my remote. It said, this is a quote, "No one feels safe on the second floor where a shadowy mass haunts a child's room. The entity scares the child at night and growls at his mother from the closet." That's our entertainment nowadays. And that doesn't even begin to cover video games. Well, I could get going on video games. Today's youth, especially the boys, have been and are being desensitized to death, killing, and blood and gore by the entertainment and gaming industry. We've got 3 boys at home. Trust me, that struggle's real. What's the definition of desensitized? I'll give it to you. I'm glad you asked. To make someone less likely to feel shock or distress at scenes of cruelty, violence, or suffering by overexposure to such images. Desensitized. How many military folks we got in here? Let me see your hand. First of all, thank you for your service. I'm going to share something else with you. My friend Randy is not here. He's working. But the military found out that soldiers would get squeamish firing at a human target, a human outline or a human target. But they realized that if they changed that human target to a zombie, well, it's easy to shoot just a target with a zombie on it. You're supposed to shoot zombies, right? Right in the head. But they could desensitize the soldiers and work them into and up to dealing with human targets. Desensitized. That's what's happening. Okay, about Halloween, there's two questions that are often asked. I'll give you the first one. Do you believe in ghosts? This is a sensitive subject. I'll answer it this way. Jesus believed in the devil, demons, and evil spirits. It says in Colossians 2, verse 15, and having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it. There's victory in Jesus. It's the only place we're going to find it. I do, in a way, but let me explain. I'm going to use Abraham Lincoln again as the example. It's been commonly reported of sightings of Mr. Lincoln's ghost in the White House. Queen Elizabeth and several presidents have reported seeing him. Question is Mr. Lincoln there? No, he's not. I'll say that emphatically, but I'll back it up with Scripture. See, in Hebrews 9:27, it says, it is appointed unto man once to die, but after that, the judgment. Mr. Lincoln, he's either in heaven or he's in hell. He's not in the White House. And because Mr. Lincoln had a very pronounced public profession of his faith in Jesus Christ, we know he's in heaven, but he's just not in the White House. Well, what is that? What are they seeing? It's a demonic representation of him intended to deceive people. Don't get all weirded out. It's rare, but it does prove that demon spirits exist. Let me ask you a question. When Lucifer, Satan, was kicked out of heaven, how many of the heavenly angels were kicked out with him? Not a third. 1/3 of the heavenly angels were kicked out with Satan. Do you think they disappeared? Where are they? You think they're still operating on the earth? Yes, they are. This is a real thing that we're dealing with.
Better listen, church. Listen.
Here's another one. Can the living talk to the dead? Now listen. I'm going to quote a man, Ben Alexander. He's a Christian who came out of the occult, openly professes and claims that the spirit world is real. He personally took part in many seances, channelings, and spiritist activities. He says there are mediums, there are channelers, there are people with familiar spirits. That's what they're called that fell, familiar spirits, who are literally talking to someone or something that exists, but they are not talking to the dead. They are working with demonic forces. You can't talk to the dead. See, it's appointed unto men once to die, but after that, the judgment. This Halloween season, there will be a greatly increased amount of deception and lies by the devil to try to lure you, your children, your friends into exploring and experimenting in occult activity. Ouija boards, palm readers, mediums, astrology, to use the fascination with the supernatural to entice away from the things of God and to explore the darkness of the enemy. There's a show on television that I greatly enjoyed. It's about two brothers, Sam and Dean. And they travel fighting the supernatural. Demons, vampires, they run the whole gamut. And it celebrates the supernatural. And I watched the show. It was entertaining, but I'm pretty spiritually grounded. And it's supposed to be make-believe. And there's another gentleman here I think would confirm this for me, that it parallels spiritual reality. It crosses back and forth across the road, the show does, on what is fake, what is make-believe, and what is real. Interesting. Many will be tempted. Many will be tempted. You, your children, your grandchildren, but there is an answer. James chapter 4, verse 7 says, "Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." Verse 8, "Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, you double-minded." Don't be deceived by the devil. Don't let it happen. Let me tell you something else. If you open the door to this type of temptation, I promise the devil and the demons will crash through it and leave that door open for others. And if you open that door with occult activity, you're putting your family at risk and those around you at risk. Occult activity opens the door to the evil that is Halloween.